Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Centre Strike podcast. We are delighted to welcome our special guest, a coach, a player, an advocate for the game of golf. You sometimes see him on your skybox. Welcome, Zane Scotland.
Thank you very much. Glad to be in your little magic studio.
Thanks for coming, mate.
Thanks for coming.
Appreciate it. It's quite nice. Got the blue lights on this time.
Blue lights on, yeah. Mr. Scotland.
We did have the green lights for Augusta last week, so we thought we'll go blue here.
Yeah, mix up a little bit.
It's funny, I'm quite well accepted in Scotland for an Englishman. I don't know
That's
why
it.
that is, yeah. Some weird reason.
Right, mate, so just so you got back from Sawgrass, spent a bit of time out there with Mr. Bullard. How was your time out there?
It's really good. I mean, I've been on that trip. It's run by a company called the Pro-Am Tour. A friend of mine, two friends of mine actually bought it from a couple who run it for 25 years. They do Sawgrass, they do the waste management, they go to Pebble Beach, they go to Arizona. But that one in Sawgrass, which follows the Players' Championship, is one I played on the most. It's probably the most special, I think, because you had the run of, you watch the players finish on the Sunday. This year it was actually on the Monday because of the playoff, but you get to go out onto an iconic course like Sawgrass.
Yeah.
Somewhere that, I don't know if you guys have watched it growing up. I definitely watched it growing up and get to walk around it, and then you get to, play it in those conditions in the following days afterwards.
How shortly after was it that you played?
So we play three courses. So we play the other course, Dye Valley course.
Okay.
That's part of the Pro-Am. And then across the road, a place called Ponte Vedra, which is a US Open qualifying course. Greens are it's always windy, and the greens are 14.5 on the stint, so it's just brutal. And then you get treated to 2 rounds on the TPC, and we have one day is like a day off, so it's not part of the Pro-Am. So we would go and play. We go and play from the back tees on our own, have a challenge day, and then the last day is you play from the slightly more forward, comfortable tees with the amateurs, which is a bit more enjoyable. The back tee,
how hard was it off the back
hard.
side?
Yeah, it's hard. I've probably done that about 6-7 times. When I used to play, they used to do a challenge which would break 80 for the pros on the challenge day, which you go to the back tees, Sunday pin positions. When I played full time, it was a breeze because you just know now how not to F up on a hard golf course.
Yeah.
But now I don't play as much. You walk to those back tees and you look down the holes and the fairways are 18 yards wide, 16 yards wide, and they're through a funnel of trees and the rough's like this.
Good day.
It gets really, really difficult. You have to it gets away from you quickly, so you have to be quite on it. And then and then we got to play with, on the challenge I played with Jimmy Bullard, a friend of mine, Josh White, another friend of mine, Rob Pierre. Rob's a really good player. He's one of the owners of the tour.
Okay.
He's like a 1 handicap, but he hits the ball miles, so he actually drives it really well. Anyway, so we're there doing a bit of content, because Jimmy's got his channels now, and Josh White, he's got his kind of content stuff going on. So we're making some content for Rob and for the tour, because we're trying to help out and stuff. So, our golf's kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
And unbeknownst to us, Rob's having the round of his life. And he ended up beating all of us and shooting 74, 75. It's funny, we had this, we did a few videos, which you may see on social media, and it may be Jimmy chatting about a certain club. And in the background, you can just see Rob in the zone on his own, just going about his business, just living his dream, playing around the Sawgrass. So but it's a fantastic place, especially I think we've all seen it for a long time. The course is quite old school. It's not too long, it's not mad long, but the greens are small and they're upturned, and it's just it's so unique in so many championships today are so just based on 250 yard par threes and get your driver out everywhere. Whereas there you have to hit every
type of shot
in your bag. It's good. If you get a chance, I don't know if you guys have you been there?
Never been. No.
When you get a chance, take it.
I always think it's a good golf course when you're not just hitting the same shot every time. It's a variety of shots you've got to hit.
Yeah.
Sign of a good course. That I do like that. So anyway, obviously a very good player. Still a good player.
And not as fast
What did you
as
shoot
once.
on Sawgrass actually?
So the content day, we were shooting millions because we were just messing around, and then the challenge day, shot 1 over.
Okay, that's good then.
But I can still.
Yeah, he's still got
I still come off a bit annoyed, a bit pissed off, and I come off shot over par.
Yeah. Are you playing much over in Dubai or?
I had been playing quite a bit up until then, but I've been struggling with my back, so I've not really played for the last since then, probably about a month, 6 weeks or so. But before that, I've been playing a reasonable amount. I mean, You know what? Actually, as you guys may know, I'm director of golf now at 5 Iron,
Yep.
which is a big indoor place. Have you guys?
Yeah,
been
been
down?
I've not been down
times.
yet, actually. I can't believe I've not been down. I know.
You have to come down for a bit. And because we have all the TrackMan sims, I was going for a little time of hitting half balls for half an hour a day.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, you know what? It's been quite interesting because my numbers are not as long, but as sharp as when I used to play.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I played, I remember being at Desert Classic here, and the caddy would literally, we went and got like 5 towels from the changing rooms, and he just goes down the left-hand side, on the Tuesday, Wednesday tournament, puts the towels down. That's how we worked out yardages. He's shouting back to me that one 125, whereas now...
Changed days on it, yeah.
Go in the studio for half an hour, and you do your whole bag, and you know exactly your ball speed, your spin numbers, your carry numbers, sharper than ever. So not necessarily saying that I can hit them all, but at least I know... know how far the bad shot goes. So yeah, it's good.
Okay.
Yeah, mate. So 1999, 16 years old. It was at Downfield where you qualified, wasn't it? That's about 50 minutes from where I stay.
Is that right?
Back home, yeah.
Okay.
Good course. I played Scottish Amateur on that.
Yeah.
Downfield, yeah, good track.
But yeah, obviously 16 years old and managed to get the job done at that age. So tell us a little bit about that experience and
kind of thrust into it really. As kind of started golf at 11 years old. My dad started at the same time. So he had the golf bug of going to the driving range 3 times a week, playing on Saturdays and Sundays. And then if we weren't at the driving range, we were watching, golf on television at the weekend. And if it was early in the week, we'd watch David Ledbetter had 3 videos, which came on over on VHS.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the long game, the short game, and take it to the course. And he'd have some guy who pretended to be like an 18 handicap, but was really like a 2 handicapper. And he would say, do this shot, and he would top it like 10 yards, and then he'd give him a tip, and then he'd just
flush it. Yeah,
yeah, he'd rip it. So that was that was it really. Like every moment was golf. Like if I wasn't at school, I would get up before school. We'd go and play 9 holes. Tee up at like 5:30 in the summer. Go and play 9 holes before school. Come home, go out in the garden, chip in, wait for Dad to come back, go to the driving range, and that was life. And that was, little did I know then, golf would become completely my life, but. Between starting and getting the Open Championship was kind of 5.5 years. But the hours put in was probably 20 years worth of hours. And I think I was maybe +2, maybe I was just getting into the England under 16s team. I wasn't quite in the under 18s team just yet. Went to the qualifying, had my mate who was like 14 on the bag, went to you go to the pre-qualifying down in Essex, and we arrived, and there was a professional yardage book, and then there was the yardage book from the pro shop. And I remember getting the professional one. You open it up, and there's just like numbers.
Yeah, everywhere.
It's like the best thing you've ever seen ever. The Titleist rep had just given you like three brand new golf balls, which you're buzzing about that. Then you get this yardage chart, and you're like, oh, it's amazing. And I remember showing it to my friend and being like, wow, look at this yardage book. And he looked at it, and he was just like, oh, well, that's crap. What are you talking about? He goes, well, it's not even in colour. And I was like, he just doesn't get this.
Yeah.
So there we were, like 2 little jokers, really, playing this qualifying alongside all the local pros. And then I got in a playoff to get an alternate spot. So I got through, got an alternate spot, maybe 30th reserve, something like that. And then had 2 friends who had qualified, older than I was, were going up to the actual final qualifying. So look, do you want to come along and just for the experience? Didn't think I'd really get in. And I was like, yeah, fine. So I went and practiced at Downfield for 2 days. And there was a guy called Michael Lunt who was at the time an RNA delegate who was a member at my club back home, and he was the delegate at that site. So he kind of knew I was there for a couple of days. He went on to be the RNA captain.
Okay.
And then so he was a delegate at that site. So I've been there for 2 days, and then 8 o'clock the night before, we were out on the 16th hole, chipping around the green, and he called me, and I had my flip phone. And he said, Zane, you're in. Sergio Garcia's just won the Irish Open. You're taking this spot tomorrow, playing with Robert Allenby, another chap called Stuart Smith. And you're here because you could be at any of the other venues. I was at that one. I'm sure that he tailored it that I was going to be at that one. Yeah. Then the next morning, I'm sending the first tee with this guy Robert Allenby, who was a fantastic player at the time, and a big crowd. Thinking what's life's about to change.
Do you think in a way, like, not knowing until last minute helped? As in, you didn't have that anticipation or build up to worry about it so much?
Possibly. I mean, I was 16. I was so young that
you don't think
I
about
literally
it,
just took it all in my stride because I thought that was normal.
Mm.
So, like now, I played in the Open since, and it was very different to the first time. The first time, I was actually so chill because I just thought that's what you did. Like there was no scar tissue. There was no reason to think it's going to go wrong or things go wrong. I watched golf on television, and I was like, this is what you do. The whole up to it. Wish you could turn it back now. My coach said to me, "What? How are you feeling about doing the Open qualifying this year?" And I remember this true to my core, just saying to him, "Well, it's just 3 good rounds. I know I can shoot 4 under. All I've got to do is that 3 times, and I'll get in." But it wasn't like no BS. You'd hear maybe a bit older. If I said it now, I'd be like, it would feel like BS because I know all the things that could go wrong. Yeah. But when you're that young, you're just like, what are you talking about? And then you go ahead, and I think I was nervous when I played Robert Allenby in the qualifying, and I skied it off the first tee, short of the fairway, knocked it up there. On the 3rd hole, he got cross at me and told me I kept on walking on his through line. And I was like, what's he talking about? What's the through line? Because you're not supposed to walk around the hole on the opposite side of where he's putting from. And at that, I was thinking, is he thinking about missing? What's that? Couldn't get my head around it. And then I had like a semi-shank on the 6th hole. I laid up, I think it's the fifth or 6th of the par 5.
Down the hill?
Yeah, down the hill, yeah. Mm-hmm. I laid up, had about a 70-yard shot. I kind of semi-shanked it right at the right-hand bunker. And that was probably the best thing that could have happened because it completely relaxed me. I was like, there's people here. That's the worst thing you could do. And the ground hasn't swallowed me up. And I think I chipped it on, tapped it in. And from that point, I just played fantastic golf. It was everything kind of went right. Yeah, it was weird how something bad just took all this.
Almost like settles you to some extent, right? When something like that happens. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So going on to obviously Carnoustie, the winning score that year was 6 over. Obviously Paul Lawrie winning it. What was the conditions like that week?
If I was being honest, it's like the worst Open you could qualify for. It really was. I think the cut was maybe plus 12. The first round leader, Rodney Pampling, led after the first round, missed the cut. He shot 1 under 85. Like, where would that ever happen to a PGA Tour player?
Well, you mentioned Garcia qualified, right? But his score after 2 days was 30 over for the 2 days.
Yeah, that's right.
So it must have been...
Yeah. I mean, on the first, I took off late because when you're a qualifier, you don't get no good draw. You get first or last. I got last. I was 409 or something like that. So, the day's pretty much done when you're teeing off.
Yeah.
And I'd watched all the golf. So I'd known people were going poorly. And I'd heard that Garcia had started badly. And I was maybe like, let's say 5 over, going down 9, 5 or 6 over, which, I watched golf on television. I hadn't watched all the scores that day, but having grown up watching golf on television, over par is not good, under par is good. And I was thinking, this is bad. But I knew that he was going poorly. So I ran over to my pal who was walking around, and I was like, what did Garcia shoot? And he said, he shot 89. And again, it's completely relaxed because I was like, well, I'm not going to shoot 89. Yeah. So thanks to Sergio for chilling me out during my first round. Yeah.
And see, because you're so young, is there any part of you, when you're standing on the driving range and you're just looking around you, I think Seve, all those top guys, are you ever just in awe of them,
Again, because so young, not really.
Yeah.
So we had, I think when I arrived, because in those days you would do, the qualifier would be on Sunday. Yes, it was Sunday, Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just, I was literally using clubs that I won in the Junior Open the week before. And then Sunday, Monday, life changed because then on Tuesday morning you're on the range at the Open Championship. And Greg Norman's hitting balls there, and Darren Clark's hitting balls here, and I can see Tiger Woods up at the end of the range, just ripping Stinger 3-woods, hitting the 250 board, one bounce, hitting the board, one bounce, hitting the board. He did it 5 or 6 times. But because you're so young, and because I hadn't been in the game very long, I just thought, and I'd watched these guys on television, I was like, okay, yeah, it's Greg Norman, yeah, it's cool. Darren Clark, this is what you're supposed to do. And my dad and Caddy were there, and they were like, and my dad was like, it's Greg Norman. And I was like, yeah, I know. Watch them all the time. Yeah. I wasn't bothered about it. I was more interested in the fact that I was getting given clubs, and I had they gave me 4 pairs of FootJoy Classics, and I had a new waterproof suit, and that was I was more interested in that.
At 16, you're buzzing with that, aren't you?
Yeah. There was one funny, just real quick. There was a funny little story. So I had 3 wedges that I won in the Junior Open the week before. I was borrowing my dad's clubs because my clubs had gotten too whippy for me. I had a driver that I cut down and it started to rattle. So I wasn't really hitting it. It was really light. I just cut it down myself. So I wasn't really using that. And I had this Mizuno 3 wood that was like a regular shaft that I borrowed off my pal. It was really whippy, but if you swung it slow, it just went like a rocket. And then I had a Scotty Cameron putter. I can't remember where I got that from. A really nice like Tyrillium one, the old school one. And I was on the range hitting balls, and this guy come. My caddy and my pal were gone, and there was this guy like hovering around my golf bag. And I was like, this is a bit weird. So I'm like hitting balls, and then I look over, and he says, "Oh, hi, I see you've got the Scotty Cameron putter in your bag." And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Oh, do you like it?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, it's cool." But I'm just interested in hitting balls. Yeah. You know, there's brand new golf balls that you get to hit down the driving range. It's amazing. And he said, "Oh, by the way, I'm Scotty Cameron. Can I build you a putter or can I get you anything?" And I was like, "Oh, wow." So I said, "Yeah, can I get a duplicate of that?" And then I asked for another one which had like a dot on the top. I couldn't even think of. I should have come up with something really cool, but
on the moment you're like,
yeah. Anyway, so I went out to play my first practice round with Jesper Parnevik and Perry Johansson and Phil Price. And we get to the first green, and I chip it on. I turn to my caddy, so I give him the putter, and he's like, "It's not here." I'm like, "What are you talking about? There's no putter in there." So I have a look. So it's so embarrassing, like playing your first practice round, the Open, no putter. So I had a couple of chips, thinking, "Oh no!" And then I look around, and no word of a lie, Scotty Cameron was running down the first fairway with my putter, saying, "You forgot your putter."
No way.
First green. Yeah.
So, how good's that?
I was like, yeah, thanks. Yeah, you know,
brilliant.
So taken aback. And apparently I thought that was going to be life, but it's not like that now. He doesn't chase me around.
What a story that is. Brilliant.
Yeah.
And like after playing in that Open there, like where do you see yourself going after that?
It was I never thought about golf to that point. So I just thought I was going to be a golfer, but I didn't have it all planned out. I just got up every morning and played golf because I loved it. And then that gave me a big boost of like self-confidence, really. To have a week of people giving you attention, and probably my first experience in doing any media stuff. You know, now I'm getting to sit here with you boys. But that was the first time. So it helped me from a self-confidence point of view, and then it also started getting me I was able to then get a few invites into the professional tournament, which then bolsters where you think you were, where you are, where you know you are. Get to learn some more stuff. Got into the GB team or squad at least. Started playing for England men's team really early, so it did a lot more for me from that point of view. Just it opened up the door to more experiences. That would be the main part of it, I would say. And also, I didn't have I took a bunch of time to go off school to go. Because Mum wanted me to stay in school, and that was like a real like, okay, you don't have to go back to school now. So I was like buzzing about that.
Did you leave school shortly after that?
Yeah, I did, because it's kind of around the end of the school year, isn't it? So I took a bunch of time off and just didn't go back. That was it, really. There was chat of maybe going to the States, but you know what? In hindsight, I wish I'd probably gone to the States. I think it would have been a really good thing to do. But then England had like an elite squad, and you got paid for to play golf and didn't have to study. So you know, you tell a 17-year-old you can just play golf every day, you don't have to study. It's hard to not take that, really, to be honest with you.
Some of these college kids now are just like at that, like a Ludwig Aberg, for example, just that elite level coming out of college and flying, aren't they? But
there was a few. I mean, in my time, you had like Luke Donald and Paul Casey. They were the pioneers from Britain, really, who had gone on. And Paul Casey was from my county and had done fantastically. But at the same time, Paul wasn't. He was a really good player, but he wasn't quite in the England setup at the time. So then, whereas I was kind of at the forefront, I was able to get invites. All the things that you kind of would go to, from a golfing point of view, go to the States for, I would already, that 3 good rounds accelerated me into that straight away. So it was a bit of a no-brainer, really.
Yeah. Okay, mate, so obviously turned pro 2003?
You tell me, I think so. It was a long time ago.
I did my homework, 2003.
Over 2 decades ago, yeah.
But obviously you unfortunately had a accident, right? So
after the Open, I then got on to have some successes in the amateur game, playing for Great Britain. You know, won big championship in Argentina, Portuguese amateur, Spanish amateur.
Seen that.
You know, had a good run.
Really good.
And that was, I really enjoyed that part. Had some profile that was where I was able to get some invites. I knew when I was going to turn pro, I was going to sign with IMG. I was kind of already in their setup, not officially, but I'd been to the IMG Bollettieri Academy in some of the winters to train, and they kind of say that no one can guarantee it, but they look at you and go, "We're probably going to get you these sponsors, and you're more likely going to get these 7 starts when you turn pro, and so forth." So that was all set out. That was great. And then just before I turned pro, I had a car crash and injured my neck. Had some time out. It kind of felt a bit better, but so I thought I'll continue and go ahead and turn pro. And then on about my 3rd start, I woke up at the Danish Open, shot 1 under in the first round. I think I'd made the first couple of cuts, shot 1 under in the first round of the Danish Open, and then I couldn't lift my head off the pillow. It was like someone had a knife at my neck, and it just, from that point, just flared up. So then for the next probably 3 to 4 years, I was having to take 3 months off, 4 months off, not hit a ball during the winter, go and play. And you think when you're young, you think talent just gets you by, but it's a mixture of talent and the work you put in and tournaments and people you're playing against. And when you take time off, everyone else is just getting better and getting better and getting better. And it hits your confidence because you can see what you want to do, but my body wouldn't let me do it. I was super stiff on the way through, so I couldn't make the moves I wanted to make.
Were you someone that loved hitting balls in the range? And
not really. No, not initially, because I grew up at a club where we didn't really have a range. We had so it's interesting because we live here in UAE and we have fantastic practice facilities and these like colossal driving ranges with short game areas and perfect turf and so forth. I don't know where you guys would have grown up, but where I grew up, we had a super tight practice range. It was really long, but it was tight. It was probably, honestly, it wouldn't have been more than 35 yards wide, and you had your own balls. So you would practice maybe once a week at max, hit a bucket of balls. You lose them all. And these old balatas are what they were. They were ones you'd found and put some work in to find. So you got used to hitting it straight, but it was always just out in the golf course. Always out in the golf course competing with people.
Chipping and putting.
That's what you'd as coaches as well, Zane, we love to see more of that, because as you said, in the UAE you get such good facilities. It's almost like they're abused so much on the range, and you see your juniors, you're like, lads, get off the range and get on the golf course. That's where you're going to learn how to score. Do you know what I mean? And they just stand and hit ball after ball after ball.
I think we're all guilty of that, though, right? Just stand there bashing balls. But
it's easy. They're amazing facilities if they're treated responsibly.
Correct.
If irresponsibly, then they're a nightmare. They become a graveyard, really, of what used to be a good golfer. When I played, I did eventually kind of got my car, so I got through the injury kind of stage, found a clinic that helped me, got fit, and then really quickly my game, when I got to play again, had an elongated period of time playing again, my game came back. It seemed like overnight. I was playing on Challenge Tour, struggling along a little bit. Had to borrow like 500 quid off my mum to go to a tournament, made the cut, did okay. And let's say I played like 5, 6, maybe 6 weeks in a row. And I called my dad on a Sunday night, and the French Open qualifying was the next morning. So this was in 2007. And I called the old man and I said, I'm knackered. I'm playing all right, but I was going to come home, have a week off. I'm not going to go to the French Open qualifying tomorrow. I was in Germany. I'm not going to go. I'm just a bit burnt out. And my pal, Kieran, had driven from the UK to Germany. I'll tell you about that in a second. He said, look, just get in Kieran's car, just go down. You've got nothing on this week. Might as well go, do that for a day, and then come home. And I was like, all right, I'll do that. So then said my mate Kieran, can we all sit from the same club? Can I jump in? He's like, yeah, no problems. So we drive across to France, trying to find a hotel. Can't find a hotel because it wasn't the days of get on booking.com and do that stuff. You just drive somewhere and find
rock up the front door and try and get something.
Couldn't find anything. End up having to drive an hour and a half away to the airport because we knew there'd be a hotel at the airport. Spend a lot more money than we intended to spend. So then rock up at the French Open qualifying, having had no practice round. It was, probably with 15, 20 minutes till tee off because we were staying so far away and we were both knackered from the day before. And had to go into the pro shop. Actually bought a JL t-shirt with me, and went straight to the first tee and played. It was 36 holes and played 2 of the best rounds I'd ever played.
Wild,
to even this day, I went to the range, I could hit about 8 balls, right, and I hit a couple of balls, and then I just tried something that John Jacobs had told me about a year before. and you know, it comes out the middle, and it just had like the ball just like dropped like 3 yards left to right. Basically, it just did exactly what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
Were you hitting a fade at that time, you said?
I was, it's a bit complicated, really. I've always been a drawer, but it was more out of feel than anything.
Right, yeah.
And I would overdraw it, and then I had a lesson with John Jacobs, a 15-minute lesson, and he gave me a drill to do. And it was basically to practice a fade to neutralise the draw.
Yeah.
And so I hit the shot, and the ball just did exactly what I thought it would. And I just thought, I just did that today. And I did that all day, and literally had it on a piece of string.
That magic feeling.
And that was it. And I did that, you know what, I did that drill that he gave me for the following year, for the rest of that season. And so I qualified for the French Open, played with Graham Storm in the last round. We were maybe like third or fourth group from the end. But just to rewind actually, so now I borrowed 500 quid from my mum. So borrowed 500 quid, qualified for the French Open, got in. A friend of ours gave me another 600 quid to get a proper caddy. So I had a caddy that I knew. And then went there, and I remember going to the, when you sign in, there's like a board that gives you all the details for the week, and it has like the prize fund. And if you made the cut, I think it was like 8,000 euros or 7,000 euros. If you made the cut and come last, I was thinking I could do with that right now. So anyway, I had to
pay your mum back.
Yeah, exactly. So I had a couple of good rounds, and I was actually doing all right after 2 rounds, but I'd made the cut. So now the weekend, I'm like,
chill,
I'm good here.
Yeah.
I'll do whatever you want. And then the last round, I find myself in contention. Graham and I both birdied 13. He went and won the lead, and I was right behind him. And the last 4 holes of Golf National were really difficult.
Yeah.
I didn't do much wrong. Dropped a couple of shots coming in. Fine. Finished like 10th or 11th. Graham parred in, won the tournament. So I'm shaking the hands of the winner.
Yeah.
So I've gone far cry from playing somewhere down in the Challenge Tour in the middle of nowhere to then being on the tour, which you want to get onto.
Yeah.
Which you've been thinking about all your time, thinking maybe time has passed me here, it's not going to happen. So I'm like, with the winner, that was great.
Mad,
so then I got an invite into the Deutsche Bank Championship, and then the same thing there. I was went in. Oh, look, you get another $6,000 if you make the cut here, like minimum.
So that was your mindset going into these things, was
pretty much at that point, yeah. At that point, I mean, after that French Open, let's say picked up like 65k, which at that time is life-changing money. When you borrowing 500 quid off your
absolutely.
literally.
That's mad, isn't it?
So then, so I went to the Deutsche Bank, same thing there, like another $8,000 here if I made the cut here. And we made the cut. Little did I know making the cut, I was actually leading after 2 rounds. Shot 600 in the 3rd round. And the 3rd round, when, I don't know if you ever have it, but when in golf things just go wrong. Whatever you do, you're going to miss the cut by a shot. Or whatever you do, you're just going to bogey the last at the wrong time. But I was going for a stage when everything I would do just went right. If I got near a cut, I'd birdie on the way in. Or, if I hit a bad shot, it would just end up in a good spot where I would chip in for birdie. I was going through that time. And then in that 3rd round, so I was obviously nervous, leading my first European Tour event. So I birdied the first, great. Birdied the second, great. Chipped in at the 3rd for an eagle, great. Birdied the 4th, birdied the 5th. So I was 600 off the 5 holes.
Oh my God.
So I was like, what's happening here? And there was good players playing. And then I had about 20-footer to go 7 under after 6 on the 6th hole. And I got excited, hit like 5 feet past, missed it, came back, 3-putt, ended it all. But anyway, so then I played with Andres Romero in the last, and Andres Romero shot like 10 under in that 3rd round. So I went out with the lead, shot 6 under, and he passed me. And then went out in the last round. It rained. I didn't play that great, but again, I was shaking hands with the winner on the 18th.
So 2 weeks in a row. That was
2 weeks back to back. Yeah, exactly. Wow. So, and it was like another big check. So, so from this point, I've gone from borrowing money to now I'm
comfy.
I'm comfy now. Yeah, this is great. I'm living at home with money in my bank. We pay now. You're paying rent and mortgages, different, but then you've got no outgoings. And then that year kind of transpired quite well. I made the cut at the Amiga Masters, got in there, fine, bang, then my last event, essentially my 6th event, was the British Masters, and my manager and my dad and my coach were kind of worked it out. If you finish top 8, 9, you'll definitely get your card. You know how there's a certain amount of money to get your card. And but to be honest, I mean, I finished high 4th that week.
Amazing.
But in my own head, like when they were talking to me about it, they might have had 3 heads. I was thinking, what are you talking about? I was borrowing 500 quid a little while ago.
Yeah,
I've now got over 200 grand in my bank. And I'm enjoying. I'm getting in tournaments. I'm playing good golf, and I'm where I want to be. You know, I was playing
on
on
a
house
high.
money really,
Yeah.
and I did end up getting enough that day to get my car, which was fantastic. But yeah, life has completely flipped into like 3 months, and then towards the end of that year, I had a call from George O'Grady. Said like, we would like you're not going to get in the Volvo Masters, but we'd like you to come because that's what they do. They give all the the awards for the statistics like driving, and, all this sort of stuff from Rookie of the Year. So I was like, yeah, great, fine. But that British Masters was when Rory Mcilroy turned pro. I knew Rory from the early days. We played practice rounds and stuff. And so I got my car within 6 starts. Played a couple more that year. And then he made the cut there. And then we went to Dunhill Links a few years later. And then he finished like second or third. And then I got a call, you're not needed now. Rory's got
Oh, really?
He's got Rookie of the Year. Yeah, he's done me. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
Because that's amazing that you two were almost like hand in hand at that stage for Rookie of the Year. Yeah.
He was like, Rory was 6, he's about 6 or 7 years younger than I was. So when I was in Team Faldo, he was on the elite team. He was one of the youngsters coming in. So I was on my way out and he was kind of coming in. So we knew each other through that time. And then Ollie Fisher, do you know
Yeah.
So Ollie and him were like pitted against each other really.
Mm-hmm.
So the three of us all had our card at the same time. So I'd kind of come back in and got my tour card, and Ollie had gone to the Q school as a 17 or 18-year-old and kept his card that first year. And then Rory turned pro and got his card within like 3 starts.
Mm-hmm.
So then the next year it was great because we were mates. We would all play practice rounds together, and it was
amazing.
We had a good few months at that. It was good fun, and it was good to see, great to see what Rory's doing now.
Yeah.
But then, it was just, to see how his game's evolved. If you'd have spent time with them, you could just, the one thing about Rory, which people don't know, I know he hits the ball great, and that's what everyone talks about. But the one thing, and he not saying he wasn't a good ball striker then, but he was quite a loopy draw.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, when Danny Willett came out, I played with Danny Willett. I actually thought Danny hit it better than Rory at the time.
Wow.
When Danny used to draw it, he was very, very long. Not saying not long now, but he just knew. Rory just knew he was going to be good. He had no doubt in his mind.
Yeah.
At that age, did he have like an ego, or did he?
Yeah. See, with Rory, like he's always had, and I mean this in the most positive way. He's always been a bit cocky.
You need that.
You need
right?
that. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's, how in British culture, if someone says you're good at something, it's almost a bit like you're a bit self-deprecating, and you want to give them a reason why you're not. Whereas he was just somebody that if you tell him he's great, he's like,
yeah.
He's
I know that.
completely comfortable.
Yeah.
And we would play practice rounds. Played the Spanish Open, Andalusian Open, and on the course, there's 2 descriptions. One's on the course, one's off the course. So one on the course would be, there was a dogleg par 4, Ollie Fisher, Rory Mcilroy, myself playing a practice round together. And Ollie's very diligent, and I'm probably somewhere in the middle, and it's a 90-degree dogleg, and it's like a 3-iron, 220 to 250 yards shot down to the bottom of the hill, and he hit a 9-iron up the hill. And so we've got the fancy yardage book out, all the numbers, jotting down, chatting with the caddy,
not the
young
one
guys.
from downfield. Yeah.
From downfield, like with our professional caddies, doing all the right things, going through your routine, all that sort of stuff, and in the practice round, doing it right, hit your iron down to the bottom. And Rory's just gibbering away with Gordy as caddy, and Rory's a Man United supporter, and Gordy's a massive Chelsea fan, and they just argued about football all day long, and they're gibbering away, and bang, 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 and Ollie's gone through all of his stuff, and I would watch them too because they were similar sort of age, and he was plays precise, nice sort of 3-iron at the bottom of the hill. And this gets to a point, it's like, Rory, you're up, mate. And he's like, oh, right. And then so he's like, right, Gordy, what have we got here? And he's like, well, you hit 3-iron to the bottom of the hill, then it leaves you 140 odd yards up the hill. And he's like, right. And he goes, can I just hit driver over there, like across the houses? And Gordy goes, you can give it a try. And just pulls the head cover off. And anyway, so Rory gets in and does his little waggle like he does now, and just takes this line like 45 degrees left of where we were going, just launched it up into a little bit of a draw, rips it, and then just starts walking, and then just carries on chatting about football. And we get up there, and he's on the fringe, literally on the fringe, and we're down at 140 yards down the fairway. You're like, he's not taking it seriously, this guy.
Yeah.
He's just driving greens. And then the other story was we'd been actually at that British Masters. We played a practice round. We walked onto the range, We were walking onto the range, and at the time, Lee Westwood and Darren Clark, they're like the real big dogs of the tour. Monty and that had moved on. And Lee Westwood, he's winning tournaments for fun, and Darren's quite a big character, and they've always have a bit of an entourage around them. And as a young player, you don't get amongst those guys. You just keep yourself to yourself. Yeah. And Rory's just turned pro. It's his first event, and he walk onto the range on the Wednesday, and he's not even stopping. He's just walking slowly. We're chatting, and they're hitting balls, and he's like, Darren, and Darren like looks over at him, and he's like, "Where's my 50 quid?"
No,
like across the range, everyone can hear it. He's like, he goes, "For yesterday, I beat you. Where's my 50 quid?" And he just carried on walking, like laughing, and he's like, "You can't do that." To those guys, he did not give it. Did not give it. Just from the very beginning, he was just like, "This is where I'm going to be." Yeah, and you don't intimidate me. I'm as good. I'm going to be so much better than you guys. Yeah, brilliant. And
look at his now. Yeah. Amazing.
Wow. Sticking with majors just now, Zane. So obviously you played as a 16-year-old in the Open at Carnoustie, 2010 St Andrews as well. What's the difference in your mindset, like 16 years old versus that 2010 Open?
It's a good question, actually. Earlier I said that Carnoustie Open was probably the worst Open to qualify for. You can't really express yourself. Your game doesn't, you can't express your game. But it was probably the best. It was at 16 years old, it was fine. I wasn't scarred by it. But to then get into the Open Championship at the old course at St Andrews, and to be a professional by that point, it was a very different experience. Because the first time I was there for the experience, and this is fantastic. The second time, it's now my job, and I'm there to, have a good week and get some more ranking points and make some money and so forth. And it's an opportunity you don't want to let slip. Mm-hmm. And to play the old course, have you guys played the old course?
Yeah.
But on the pin positions, it's the same during the Open as it is at any other time. You can play it in the St Andrews Links Trophy, or if you go and play with pals.
Yeah.
But you compare like Carnoustie's first hole to the first in the old course, pulls apart, right?
Exactly. So it's probably arguably the best Open to qualify for. Mm-hmm. And the small details which I learned from maybe playing the Wentworth PGA earlier that year, was that all your mates are there, and it becomes mayhem. Playing an Open Championship. Have you qualified? Are you going to go? You got to get some. You're going to go try and qualify for the Open.
One day, mate. Yeah.
I mean,
I did try a couple of years ago. But
did you?
I didn't obviously make it, unfortunately.
Make the time to do it, because it can it's one of those things in golf which is, there's not many championships to be able to get into major championship, and you guys are good players, so you should definitely, while you can.
Yeah,
give it a shot.
Time runs out. I'm 42 now, so I'm thinking my time's running out big time. But you guys got a lot more time, but make the effort to do it. It is mayhem. So everybody's there. All your family's there. Your friends are there. You want to have a great time, but it's your job. So what happens is you arrive on a Monday, and then you want to take it all in. Mm-hmm. And then you're there morning till night, and then by the time Thursday comes around, it's a complete mess. But this time I was a bit more attuned to it. I'd come across at the Wentworth PGA. All my mates are there. Big long week. Played the worst golf I could have possibly imagined. Everybody wants a bit of your time. Managers there, sort of stuff. Whereas this time at the Open, I was like, no. I have a strict time schedule. I'm going to arrive early. Going to get away. I actually paid for my mates to put a house. I had a house for family and a house for my mates, just so that it wasn't not a crossover. So I could just see the boys. Then they had their own thing, and then that was that. And then I gave my phone to my sister just to deal with it. So can you look after my phone for the week? Because it's everyone. Because you want to be a nice guy. You want to help people get tickets and stuff. But at the same time, you're about to play against bloody Tiger Woods and Rory Mcilroy and whoever. So you got to get your head down, because they're not doing that. And so it was a completely different experience. And it was great to get to play at the old course. My dad had caddy for me in the qualifying. Mm-hmm. Because I wasn't playing that great at the time. So he said, I'll come and caddy for you during the qualifying. So he came up and I qualified. So then I couldn't not ask an old man to caddy in the Open. And to be fair to him, he said, you should get a proper caddy. I was like, this is our time. This is our...
What experience to have your dad
I get emotional about talking about it now. Yeah. Because this was us watching David Ledbetter videos.
Yeah.
Putting comps on the carpet, in the, getting up before school to go and play golf. And then we tee off the first, and we're walking down the first hole at the home of golf in the Open Championship.
Yeah. Special, isn't it?
You know what I mean? I'm in the old man. I mean, of things I've done in golf, that was the very, very best moment.
Yeah.
Really was.
That's incredible. I've got
Amazing.
goosebumps,
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Just that aura of walking down like the first hole at your course, it's that in that arena, obviously being
it's amazing. It's fantastic.
incredible.
Yeah. I've been fortunate to go back and commentate with the BBC. Yeah. The Cam Smith one when Rory should have won it.
Yeah.
And we had Rory's group in the last round. It was anyway, so I'm still upset about that now. But yeah, the first tee experience of the Open, I kind of used to. Yes, I was nervous. It's quite a long time ago, so you kind of get up and off you go. But the one at St Andrews was one I remember vividly because, as a tournament player, you have your routine in the morning. So you go to the driving range, you hit a certain amount of golf balls, you chip putt, you do it in a certain order. You get to the tee, you know how it goes with the starter, you get your cards, hello to the playing partners, you mark your golf balls. So that's like, this is what you do every day, a professional golfer. And then your playing partner tees off, fine. And then all of a sudden, Ivor Robson just goes, and his voice,
that famous voice,
from England, Zane Scotland. And it's like a feeling comes over your body. It's just you go, vroom, and then you just look down and you're like, I can't feel my body.
Really? Is that bad? Yeah.
And you walk over to the tee and, when you put, you have your thumb on top of the ball and you've got a tee between your middle finger and your index finger. And when you push the ball into the ground and you just think, I can't feel that. So like you get it on the tee, fine. And then you go through your routine. And then it was dry, so I was hitting like a 2-iron. Back in the days where I could hit a 2-iron. And you put your club behind the ball, and you look down the fairway, and then you waggle. And then when you waggle, you're looking, you're thinking, who's moving that club? I can't feel that. Then looked up the last time, and all my mates have got these, they decided it was a good idea to buy these yellow T-shirts. They had my face on the back and had their nicknames. So these stupid faces on them. And I could just see them. There's like 12 of them just walking down the out of bounds on the right side. So small targets, pick your target. The building, and then I'm like, and then your eyes go across all the boys out of bounds. I'm like, for fuck's sake, right? Don't forget about them. And then actually, what I did when I was 16, when I was nervous. I remember when I got on the first tee, having a similar sort of feel. Was I remembered the 250 board, one that Tiger Woods was like ripping 3-woods at, out on the range, like a yellow board. So just remember when I was 16, remember that, just pitch that in the middle of the fairway. Because that's what I'd been hitting at. And then just before I took the club back, I was thinking, just pretend you're hitting that 250 board. And it like come back to me from however many years before.
Really, yeah.
And I actually hit quite a nice shot. I mean, it's quite wide at St Andrews. The only thing you can do is completely F it up and shank it into the boys out of bounds. So
in that moment though, you're on the first tee and you thought back to that 250 board where
some weird split seconds. Yeah,
isn't it?
I didn't plan to do it. Just it's funny what your brain can do. Yeah, it just it gave me that little bit of this is what you should do now. Yeah, and it took me back. Yeah.
Walking up 18 with your dad going over the bridge. Like I know you're saying going down the first is great and stuff, but there has to be a point in your brain where you're like, whatever happens now, like. I've done pretty good. You know what I mean?
It's not going to get much better.
At the home of golf, I've got my dad caddying for me and we're going over the Swilcan Bridge. It's pretty impressive. Special.
It's very, very cool. That's why I say, like, boys, you're good players. You should definitely do it.
Try it this year.
Definitely do it. And then actually when I went back with the BBC, we actually got to walk up. We had Tiger's group on the Friday, and myself and Alistair Bruce Ball. We had Tiger's group on the Friday, which was maybe thinking possibly it might be his last Open at St Andrews and be there for that moment.
That was different as well.
Goosebumps.
He was wearing that
Rory
white
was coming down, wasn't he? Rory was coming down the one and Tiger was going over the bridge and it was like, seemed like a real pass in the guard and then Rory was supposed to win it and he didn't quite get it done.
Yeah, electric, eh? Oh, brilliant.
You were there, were you?
I was there. I watched it, So just that Open at St Andrews, I think most guys just... That is the special one to play in, isn't it? So
yeah, it really is. I mean, it's actually quite tough from a spectator point of view because you just walk on the edge.
It's not the best course to
expect it. Yeah. But also it's a nice one to play in because you've got space there. So a lot of the other courses are really tight. So when you just qualified, it's quite nice to get into a major championship and go like, okay, if you're not on, you've got to bail out or go left or whatever it is. It's quite a nice one. You feel quite free there.
Yeah. Brilliant. Right, Zane, just a couple quick fire questions to finish.
Brilliant.
We ask all our guests this, so we've got basically build your golfer, okay?
Okay.
Putting, chipping, irons, driver, and then mentality, right? But they've got to be players that you've played with,
Okay.
and you can only use them once.
Oh, okay, right.
Okay, so start with driver.
Driver. That's Rory, isn't it?
Yeah, okay.
Best driver of our generation.
Mm-hmm. Irons,
Irons. I played with Lee Westwood.
Westwood, yeah, solid.
Played Westwood in the Omega Masters, and he had Billy Foster on the bag. It's the best round of golf I've ever come across. He shot 65. On the last hole, he hit 2 feet, spun off into the water. But you know when you play with someone or you're around them and their caddy, and the caddy is saying, "Do this," and he just spent the whole day doing exactly what Billy told him. Yeah, it was really impressive.
Yeah,
that's a tough one out of him. And I've gone early there because I've seen it. He's probably had the best round of golf, but can I rescind it?
Yeah.
Nick Faldo.
Oh, wow.
You played with Nick
Yeah, I
Faldo?
played a lot with Nick, yeah.
Oh,
the
brilliant.
control that man had. Didn't hit very far, short, but the control, every single shot.
Really?
And he could tell you how to do it and how he worked on it.
Ball striker?
Yeah, just everything's out in the middle.
Really?
He did a full clinic for us. He did a full clinic for the European Under-21s on the 18th at Burr Hill, which is a par 3, and he hit, I would say 30 shots. It's about 190 yards, and he demonstrated every single shot, and he didn't miss the green once.
Wow.
It was immense. And he finished it with doing a slow motion driver that he used to practice on his short driving range. And he just chips this driver and it rolls up to 8 feet. That man has some control, yeah.
Do you reckon he was the best ball striker you played with?
Of his time, yeah. I mean, he wasn't very long, but the control that he had, his term was, you got to get the ball talking to you. So he really instilled in us being able to hit all the different shots and getting the ball talking to you and having your own little ways. Everyone thought he was really technical, but it was actually really feel based. So yeah.
Chipping?
Short game, I'm going to say, that's a good question. Gonzalo Fernandez Castaño.
Oh,
wow.
Okay, Gonzo, yeah.
He
Spanish hands.
That geezer can make pars from anywhere.
Really?
He was an animal, yeah.
Okay. Putting?
Putting, really tough one, putting.
Tell me about it.
only because, like, I'm a good putter.
Okay.
And it's just something, odd enough, it's something that's come easy to me. So I've never really, I don't want to sound like a douchebag and say myself.
Can do, mate. I've been there. I'm sure I picked myself a driver a few weeks ago.
If you don't mind, I'm going to choose myself.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Putter.
Yep.
It's got me out of trouble a lot, so I owe it to my putting. Yeah.
Welcome, mate. I'm in that
You're
boat.
Scotty Cameron.
Yeah, well, actually, I putt with anything.
Have you still got that Scotty Cameron that you had at 16?
No, you know what? I actually gave it to my pal. We swapped at like a county game
Okay.
a few weeks later, and then he dipped it in Coke and ruined it. And I was like,
I may have done that as well. They tell you it gets the rust off and the whole thing changes colour.
Yeah, he ruined it. Yeah, livid.
Have you got the one Scotty Cameron made you still?
I don't know what it is.
Oh, no.
No, it had a nice. It was a Santa Fe 2 and a little dot on the top. But I think someone took it.
Really?
Probably got nicked in.
Yeah, again, I would have lent it to somebody and it just hasn't come back. Nightmare.
And finally, what all good players need, mentality.
Mentality. That's a good one. You know, again, like I've seen Nick had an amazing mentality, but I've said Rory. I'm going to say, this is a weird one actually. There's a guy called Christian Sever who physically was not blessed with being a good ball striker. But in terms of being a golfer, he was unbelievable.
Really?
He could not hit a good shot all day and shoot at 69. And I mean this in a positive way. And if he does decide to listen to your podcast, he would hit the shot. He would tee off, and he would walk, and it would be short and crooked, and he would saunter back to the golf bag, as if he were Tiger Woods. He roomed with Tiger Woods in college,
Right.
Oh, wow.
and he would saunter back to the golf bag and put his club away. I remember one time my caddy whispered to me, he went, "The only person that doesn't realise that it was completely really shit shot is him." He just had this full belief, and you play with him all the time, and you go around and think, how's this guy keeping his cards? And he won the European Open. I think he won 2 or 3 times, and every time I played with him, he broke 70.
Right.
It just had me
And it wasn't impressive. It was just
completely in his
just
pocket. It wasn't impressive, but his mentality was just nothing rumbled him
Brilliant.
wherever he would do
just
it.
knew how to get it done.
Yeah. He had Tiger Woods' mentality. but with probably 50 yards shorter and about 20% less accurate.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Oh,
There you go.
All right, Tom.
Right, last one, and you have to answer it.
Okay, go on.
The worst shot you've seen on tour, and who was it?
Worst shot I've seen on tour. I think it's like a really dramatic one. Actually, the worst shot I saw on tour, and he won't be happy that I said this. I said it somewhere else, and it was probably one of the most beneficial to me personally. Was at that British Masters where I got my card. My dad and I had gone back into the changing rooms. No, gone back into the players' lounge, and we were watching because there was no one else around. We were watching the finish of the play. So it depended a little bit on what other people did, whether I was going to get it. And there's a guy called Gregory Borley, lovely chap. That was a really nice guy. I actually grew up playing golf with him. And I needed him to drop a shot at the last, maybe, to bump up a little bit. And the last at the Belfry is round the corner.
Yeah.
And he hit this big snipe hook. Like, it was like low and left and straight in the water.
Go on.
And I mean, it was a terrible shot. And it meant my dad and I were like in the players' lounge, I was like, yes, he's like,
Buzzing.
that's it. We got our card.
Lost as well, yeah.
Brilliant.
Sorry, Gregory, but that was it.
Listen, Zane, thanks very much for coming on. Really appreciate it. Some great stories there, Tom.
Yeah, thank you
Very
so
good.
much. Yeah.
So, yeah, guys, that is Zane Scotland on the Centre Strike podcast. We will post it on our socials, so give it a watch, guys. So, yeah, thanks very much.
Zane, thank you, mate.
Perfect.
Been a
Thanks
pleasure.
for having me.